courtesy of Creative Digital Media. It's an edition of the State of the Nation address. Drop us a line on our social media handles to give us the feedback that we need to hear from you on Cruise TV, on YouTube, and 912 Cruise FM on X, and 91.2 Cruise FM on Facebook. I've put our topic of discussion right there so that you can be able to contribute to the show. But later on the show, you can be able to call in on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. Let me give you a recap of the week before we get into our topic of discussion. What we think, do you think the president addressed the most pertinent issues in the country? In his State of the Nation address, we know that very unprecedentedly, he spoke for literally about 1 hour and 15 minutes about that. Did he capture everything that we badly needed as a country? We shall be talking about that and more. And to help me discuss the State of the Nation address is Counsel Isaac Barije, who is a lawyer, Peter Mpaka, who is a member of the National Inter-Platform Council, Bwenje Dos Didit, who is also a lawyer. And we have a special guest in Jacob Eyeru, who is the chairperson, National Youth Council, and coordinator of the Yellow Youth Movement. Don't forget to drop us on what you think about the State of the Nation address on our social media handles. Now, the president, who also is the commander-in-chief, passed out 777 officer cadets who completed their military training. And among those is Robin Lokech, the son of the former Deputy Inspector General of Police, Paul Lokech, Matthew Kondere, who is the son of the late Lieutenant Colonel Ruben Kondere, who died in Congo. It's very good to know that now the children of the combatants are part of now the new generation of the UPDF. I think it's something that we should also be proud of. We wish all the graduates the best of luck in service of country. The Bank of Uganda released the monetary policy statement for June 2024 and be sure that it maintained the central bank rate at 10.25%. Now, if you are an economist out there, it's important that you read the monetary policy statement and you know what it means to have the 10.25% as the central bank rate, the effect it has on the interest rates and the commercial banks and everything that has to do with the economy. Now, also in other news, Uganda Police stops all national inter-platform nationwide mobilization activities over failure to adhere to security standards. And there's a couple of incidents that have happened in Masaka where a couple of people lost their lives in an accident. And we hope that the Uganda Police Force and the NUP will be able to harmonize those movements. Now, members of parliament continue to append their signatures on the censure motion for the commissioners over corruption. We know that one member of parliament from Bukoma Simbi, let me pick, is it revoking or called back or cancelled, whatever word that you can replace it with, for calling out for her signature to be removed from that list over being misled. The Minister of Finance on Thursday will be reading the national budget that will be to a tune of 72.1 trillion shillings. And very importantly, the East African Community Summit swore in a new Secretary General in Veronica Mwen Nduva in a function conducted online, replacing Peter Mtuki Mathika, who was the Secretary General for the East African Community. Let me start with the Council Bwenja. Good morning and welcome to the Big Set.
Oh, I'm fine. And I was I just want to start off by I think in the strongest terms I can find to condemn the actions of the DCs who have made it a habit of taking over powers of court. There's a letter which is making rounds on social media of the RDC of actually the deputy RDC of Mitoma district. This is a letter of the 24th of May. So Madame Ario Merced really makes a horrible error, and she overturns the decision of a sub-county court. And it is unprecedented, but of course I'm aware that these agents or the RDCs are doing exactly what their principal is doing. President Museveni also has a habit of overturning decisions and interfering in the independence of the what of the ju- I mean of the judiciary of Uganda. So I think they are trying to copy a bad example. But I want to remind all the RDCs that they don't have any power at all to overturn a decision of court, not even an LC1 court of law. So I urge Madam Mary to resign her letter because it is illegal, null and void, and inconsequential. And then, of course, on the other hand, also, I'm mindful of the bad state of roads in our country, especially that one of the Barara Shen Highway. It is so bad, and of course, it is a recipe for more accidents on the road. It's even a recipe for more. You see, if you don't repair roads, it means people are not going to take their matoke, their pawpaws, their pineapples to where they want it to be sold. And that's also now a recipe for more poverty and of course for also a higher cost of living.
All right.
Then of course I don't know if we are going to get time to talk about the censure motion. I don't know.
All right.
But,
I'll give you a few of that so that you can be able to talk about it. But
all right.
welcome to the Big Set. Council Isaac Badija, good morning and welcome to the Big Set.
Good morning, our dear listeners. Badija Isaac is my name. I'm very glad to be here. I welcome everyone. I welcome Mr. Jacob. Nice to see you in Mbarara. And I hope to see you again. You know, you should make this your home because Mbarara is a good place.
No, we know certainly that he married someone from around here, so this should be home, and it shouldn't be very strange for him, right?
No, okay, Jacob.
Yes.
I also welcome my fellow panelists, Professor Boenje and my brother from National Unity Platform.
Right.
Yes, I think this panel is balanced.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, good morning, Peter Mpaka, and welcome to the Big Set.
And good morning, our dear listeners and the panelists here. Indeed, my name is Peter Mpaka from the National Unity Platform. Thank you, WestJ.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Jacob Eyeru, and welcome to Western Uganda's biggest radio.
Good morning, every listener out there, and a very good morning to you. Very happy to be hosted in Bara on radio for the very first time. It's not my first time in Bara. Ironically, I was in Bara first for an educational purpose. I hope that today I contribute to the same. But I've been around Bara. I know that my wife, through her story of life, has grown up in Bara. So she told me to bring greetings to her people. She attended Bishop Stuart University, attended high school in Barara, and literally grew up in the environs of Barara. So I think everyone surely should not see me as a visitor. I hope that I can go back having learned how to make some local foods.
We should perhaps know categorically what you came to do in Barra, very specifically.
Under the fiction of oneness,
Yes.
he also studied from Barara and Bishop Stuart University. So,
Oh.
yeah, the fiction of oneness.
Yeah, okay, good. Yes.
Well, I did not study from Bishop Stuart University. I attended Makerere University, but I know why he brought that up. Went to the same high school, so it's a pleasure to meet Anobi here. I'm in Bara this weekend for specifically one reason. I am in Bara in my capacity as a member of the NRM Youth League, and we are here to continue our movement of the Yellow Youth Movement that seeks to change the narrative that young people bring to the political table. And that narrative should be interest-driven, and therefore support for individuals must be on the basis of a quid pro quo that young people are going to argue for and sustain. But also on the basis that in the NRM party, young people need to begin to rise, need to begin to be seen to have their own agenda, and need to turn the corner from the idea that only NRM has people, but when you look for where their young people are, they are in support, they are not in leadership. So I think that's really where we're coming from. But the Yellow Youth Movement is here. We'll talk more about it.
Is it only coincidental that you come up with the Yellow Youth Movement? Only when Mhoozi Kainerugaba and his comrades are coming up with PLU, were you feeling a particular void that perhaps would have been left by those that would take interest in the PLU and forget about the activities within the NRM?
Well, I do not think that the two organizations, the Patriotic League of Uganda and the NRM, are. I don't think they're antagonistic to each other. I think they can exist together. My role is that one is I am a member of the NRM Youth League by law and by NRM constitution. By virtue of that, as a young man in leadership through the NRM Youth League, I intend that that leadership is not a vacuum.
Yes.
In the head does it mean he's a member?
Please speak to the microphone.
Yes, I am.
No. Yes, there.
Okay. What in the head is he meaning that he's a member of the NRM by law?
He's here.
I think that's an abuse of the word law.
He's here. He should be able to give
Let him
clarity.
explain.
No, I think it depends on what you define as law. For those that subscribe to the NRM, the binding legal document is the NRM Constitution. And the NRM Constitution provides that every youth member of the party is automatically a member of the NRM Youth League. So I don't think there's a lot of legal jargon there.
Maybe what he wanted to mean is you
He's
being
person of the National
Youth Council.
Yes.
Not
And
the NRM Council.
Yes.
No. I think that also needs clarification. The National Youth Council is an institution of government, but it is constituted by partisan interplay. To run for the seat of the chairperson of the National Youth Council, I had to hold the flag of the NRM. And by virtue of my age, I held it as a member of the NRM Youth League. The person that I had to run against at the very end was someone that was flag bearing for the FDC party. So the NRM, FDC, DP, GEMA, whosoever it is, are their feet within the National Youth Council. However, the membership of the National Youth Council is constituted in the nature in which Parliament is constituted. So it's a multi-partisan
maybe before we go for a breather, I want to know, because on the arguments of rationalization of government agencies, there was a call-up to have the National Youth Council perhaps incorporated into the Ministry of Gender. How will that affect the activities of the council, and will it be able to meet the aspirations and needs of the young people? No. Wait, let him answer that, and then I'll give you. Yes.
Okay. I mean, I think that's a more substantial question on another topic. But just to say that it's not possible to rationalize the council. What is happening is a conversation around merging functions of the secretariat of the special interest councils into one national secretariat for special interests. So yes, there's a narrative from the Attorney General's office to say, why don't we mainstream the management of secretarial needs to the department in the ministry, and then maintain the councils as political vehicles of voice, and they proceed under their laws to perform their functions with secretarial services provided by a merged secretariat. However, even that was defeated in Parliament, and what we are going to have is a standalone but merged function, so that we are able to perform our functions, which in some cases may include to disagree with government.
All right. Yes, Councillor Benji.
I wanted to say that actually the government is in order to have them merged because they are serving no purpose at all. It's just a committee of vultures who are there to
Why are you very
share money.
You're in the combative mode, but that's not your outcome of discussion. Let's
not
stop for a break and
We
we'll
are
come
here.
back into a
I've
topic
never
of
seen
discussion.
what
Good
they do.
morning.
It's tough, it's bold, it's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music,
Great music.
great friends.
Great friends.
FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
We're back. It's 26 minutes past 9 o'clock on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music, great friends. My name is Wesige Banyaji. We are right here on Plot 12, Muti Lane, Mbara City, the land of milk and honey. Don't forget you can be a part of the conversation right here on the big set. Drop us a line on our social media handles, 912 Cruise FM on X and 91.2 Cruise FM on Facebook. You can be able to watch the show. It's a whole visual audio arrangement on Cruise TV, YouTube and TikTok. That's where you can be able to watch everything that is happening on here. The gentlemen are with me in studio. Mr. Jacob Eyeru, Chairperson, National Youth Council, Coordinator, Yellow Youth Movement. Council Isaac Badije, who is a lawyer. Peter Mpaka, National Unity Platform. Council Bwenje Dos Did It, who is also a lawyer. Before we got into the break, Council Bwenje was very combative in asking for accountability on how much West is at the Youth Council. And unfortunately, that's not our topic of discussion. But I'm going to allow Mr. Yeru to be able to address that in a very sneak peek, and then we get into our State of the National Address. Yes, Jacob, you heard from Bwenje how you're vulturing all the monies that is supposed to be going to the youth and the young people of this country. Answer that and we'll close over to the topic of discussion.
Thank you. First and foremost, I think it would be best to say what 5 things would we say we've done that young people can know. Okay, that for means there's a National Youth Council. The National Youth Council in and of itself is not a service providing institution. We are a mediating institution. So if we want young people to achieve something, we need to go to a service providing arm of government, either ministry or agency, and make sure it happens. So in that sense, what the National Youth Council has achieved is supposed to be measured on the basis of what we have changed. And what we have changed, first, in my leadership, we came in when the Youth Livelihood Program was closed. In Mbarara, the last capitalization had come in 2019. Government had made the decision to take away 38 billion shillings from young people who were supposed to get some money to start up jobs. In our leadership, that money came back. And that money came back in revolving nature, 4 years after its closure. Number 2, when you people hear about the parish development model, the real nature of the model that came out did not have a quota system. What was happening was that 1 trillion shillings was going to go to the communities where we say there is marginalization without any protection for young people. It is the National Youth Council that secured 30% of PDM funds to be allocated to young people. Implementation is not at 100%, but it would be 0 if the National Youth Council had not intervened. To put that into perspective, that's 300 billion shillings availed for young people in communities who are within the outside money sector. So I think that's number 2. Number 3, which is starting 1st July this financial year, 2 months ago, we were able to influence PPDA to switch the law and provide for new guidelines on the PPDA Act, on Section 50 on the Act under the reservation scheme. What that does, just put it for in perspective, if the government of Uganda has 72 trillion as a budget line for next financial year, and about 40 trillion of that is going into debt financing, the 30 trillion that is available for expenditure, government spends 60% of that money through procurement. Now, if you look at the rate of death of Ugandan businesses for young people, they are 90% in the first year for cost factors, management factors, but also for lack of business. What the National Youth Council secured is that starting next financial year, youth businesses are going to have a reservation priority in government procurement. District local governments, any contract that is below 10 million shillings is going to go first to young people if it's a district local government. If it's a central bank, a central government institution, say URA or a ministry, any contract below 30 million is going to be secured for young people. If you look at in terms of integration, in our leadership, for the very first time, the National Youth Council was able to have a non-partisan approach to presenting young people to the idea of integration. For the last 3 years and counting, I think this year we'll do it again, the National Youth Council has been taking out young people in their hundreds to interact with young people in Kenya, in Tanzania, and I would like to say, without a shadow of doubt, because I've been told one of the new people here is here. You need to check out the opinion of Ms. Shamim Nambasa, the former guild president of Makerere, a very staunch Nup young leader who was among our beneficiaries in that program. They came in to test whether the National Youth Council would allow new people to engage in such benefits.
Okay, perhaps we now get to engage. Starting from that point, I think it brings it out very well. When the president was talking to the nation about yesterday, the most important thing that perhaps Ugandans would have got an interest to hear from the president is the influx of the Ugandan young people to the diaspora, but not to the West, all right? And not for the green card in the United States or something, but to the Gulf and what to do.
And they come back in coffins.
Yes, and they come back with coffins. Forget about the coffins because it could be an outlier there. But they are coming back with nothing. Why should they leave this country and go to work as maids and shamba boys and everything? Those are young people, all right? You're their chairperson. Let them know, and perhaps that we didn't hear from the president. Is it something that you're proud of?
First of all, nobody is proud, and nobody should be proud that the country cannot absorb the labor supply. But in reality, the unemployment question in Uganda is a labor demand question. The people that, just by our age structure, the people that come into the necessity of jobs cannot be absorbed by the rate of investment that is internal, but even that you can achieve externally through external investment endeavor. So it is not possible to absorb everyone in Uganda, even if we wanted to. The logic for me would be, therefore, what is the alternative? Today, many people earn off TikTok, but TikTok was not created in Uganda. Many people earn off Facebook. Just by talking on Facebook, they make some money. But that's not a Ugandan concept. The question really is, where can we make an earning that can support the country? If you look at the amounts of money that come in from young people that make a trade in the Gulf states, it dwarfs the amount we get from the exports to coffee. To put it in perspective, and I like that he's brought up the issue of coming back in coffins. To put into perspective, there has not been more than 1,000 reports of abuse, even among returnees. But in comparison, there are over 400,000 Ugandans, young Ugandans now, in the Gulf states. If you are to say, let's juxtapose with government civil service. Government civil service in Uganda, when you're counting the army, you're counting the police and all the people that work in government civil service, they do not exceed 360,000. So the alternative from independence to date that government has created in government jobs does not exceed the opportunity that was available in the Gulf states. I think that where we have had a problem is the lack of capacity to regulate behavior and legal frameworks on the external soil. But in terms of opportunity, there could never have been a better opportunity. There's countries that are transformed by this nature of application. If you look at the Philippines, in the Philippines, there are very strong laws that regulate the way you treat a Filipino that comes to work in your country. But the foreign exchange brought in by those Filipinos has led to a lot of change on the ground in that country.
Maybe the fact that you're here, there's so many questions as regards to the spaces that the young people have tried to occupy, but they've not been helped because the things that you're talking about, there is no way I can have a bachelor's degree in economics and law and I fail to get opportunity. And my chairperson of youth council is here saying that since you can make it in the Gulf and you can make the money that you cannot even get in civil service, I should be proud of the work. There has to be esteem.
What is wrong with being...
What about creating opportunities here that are in tandem with the skill set that I have as a person?
And that's what I'm saying, that
Yes.
try best you can. You cannot create enough opportunity for the nature of our of our population structure. Let me give you the idea. No. 50 guys.
Yes.
Let me just make the point. Then you can bring
Yes.
the misery on. 50% of Ugandans are 15 and below. 50%. If you extend that to the average age of leaving your university degree is about 24. From 24 and below, you are talking about 65% of Ugandans. There is just no way that population structure can feed into a job creation capacity. I would have a problem if you're saying we are training engineers and they are going to become house girls. That is a genuine problem. If you're saying no,
but
we are
Mr.
training.
Eyeru, exactly that is what is at hand.
No.
Because we know young people.
No. So let me explain that. You see, I unfortunately I deal more with fact. If you go to the Gulf state, let's take a case of Dubai. Dubai bases on skill set for employment opportunity. The young people that are taken, yes, there are those that study law and then they are offered a platform to be a house help, which earns better than the entry level of legal practitioners here. The councils are here in many of the law firms. That is a personal choice. But when it comes to professional opportunity, the Gulf states recruit based on profession. And the problem has been that the recruitment that is given to Uganda as a priority, set up by companies in Uganda, goes to house help and non-skilled labor. India is another country that is at the helm of giving out skilled labor. Almost all the IT work, engineering work in the Gulf states is done by Indians. If you want to know that for a fact, just you have your phone, you can Google the structure of skill set in Dubai and who does what.
Oh, okay.
It is not about, it's really not about what opportunity, it's about organization.
I read the scorecard of MPs, and actually some of the most dormant MPs are the youth members of parliament. So do we still need them?
I can tell you that my area member of parliament was among the most dormant, but he's not a youth member of parliament. I think parliament, especially the 11th parliament, has a lot we can say about it. I don't think they have performed to my expectation, but I don't think that 5 people out of 534 should determine the question of carry the shoulder.
They should do their part. They should do their part.
Okay.
Why are the 5 there? But for me, what I want to send to the chairman of the Youth Council is that he should stop sitting in his chair and waiting for the reports to first accumulate to 1,000, and then he can take on the problems of the youth. Has he addressed himself to the youth who are trapped in Myanmar? And we saw them return, some being even being repatriated. Has he addressed himself to the youth who are rotting in prisons in China, in the Philippines he's talking about? Has he addressed himself to the fact that many youth who graduate as teachers, as medical lab scientists, as physiotherapists, as different swaswa whatever administrators, they don't get jobs in this country. They end up running small poultry farms.
And what's wrong with that?
You see, and the problem with it is him coming here. The problem with that is him here to talk a lot, coming here to talk a lot of English and tell us the billions of money they have, which are doing nothing.
Okay. Isaac Barije, did the president, in fact, I think the biggest problem that Uganda has are the young people. We have no doubt that squarely the president must have taken interest in the status of the young people. Unfortunately, I didn't hear how many times that he had to talk about the young people. Did he address head on the aspirations of the young people?
Thank you so much, Mr. Banyaji. As I was seated here listening to my brother, Mr. Yeru, I was trying to look at it. I was trying to distinguish what he was saying with the president's address to the nation, because the challenge I've found with politicians is that they're out of touch with reality, and they come and confuse society with statistics, figures, and of course my brother is challenged by the English, but of course and the English. My take on that is that the president has really not addressed the concerns of the youth. Of course, given the fact that Uganda, the majority of the population are the youth, I believe somehow Mr. Jacob would have told us that we have gotten in touch with the president, and we've put forth these challenges that are facing the youth. But from the president's speech, you can see that he does not know what an average Ugandan youth is and what is going through. So when you look at the rates of crime, at the cost of living, even to the extent that a normal youth in Uganda has no hope for tomorrow. Mr. Banyaji, you cannot tell me that you can tell me where you will be 5 years from now. In Uganda,
I certainly know that as long as I'm around,
you see,
things will be happening.
That's how bad it is, that you cannot even plan for yourself.
But Isaac Badije, how is it possible that a young person who will come from Congo, who will come from Rwanda, who will come from South Sudan, and set shop in Uganda and prosper, and the Ugandan youth will not? That's an issue we should also be able to talk about.
You see,
because we know so many Banyamurenge that live in Achivade, set shop in Mbarara here, prosper and make it, and the Mbarara young people
Mr. Banyaji,
are not doing anything about it.
The Banyamulenge I know are moving, always moving with Bitenge, selling Bitenge. So even that that example that you're bringing really is out of it's draconian. But the reality is, Uganda has forgotten who the youth are and what they are capable of. The fact that we have addressed the concerns of Ugandan of the youth moving outside, the educated ones moving outside to work as house helps, that should even be a serious concern. Why should we educate our children, and then it's like giving pearls to swine? Why have they wasted their education? It actually brings us back now to the education system of Uganda.
The president made good emphasis about the education and how far it has come since 1986.
It has not come from anywhere, and it is not going anywhere.
You know very well that that tertiary institutions are turning out a couple of graduates every year.
Mr. Banyaji, me from when I was in O level, I actually thought I was dumb because I used to get F9s in mathematics, but that wasn't my field. My field was law. So it was until my senior 3 that I dropped subjects like chemistry. Of course, I just surrendered, dropping by surrendering that let me fail and focus on these other things. But that shows you that the education system of Uganda does not even plan for the future. We are being trained to be employees, not job creators. And those are the concerns that the president and the chairperson, the National Youth Council, should be focusing on. Because when you plan, there is something that we should learn from the Chinese. Sometime back, the Chinese sat and were planning for China in the next 100 years. But have we ever done something like that? You see, what we have in Uganda is consolidation of power and consolidation of the NRM. That Vision 2040 is how shall we consolidate the NRM in power?
And what is wrong with that?
That is very wrong.
Waking up for General Museveni to think about how long he can be president
That is good for him as a person.
It should be not be a problem.
And the other take that I take the other take that substantiates my position is, how did he look at the he made some comments on the speaker, and that shows us that there is not even the principle of separation of power and checks and balances. It's not there. The president is very happy that the parliament is so weak that even cannot bring him to check. So you see, that's how, and that's an 80-year-old man. He's not a youth. So you cannot tell me that he understands the issues of the youth. He was a youth in 1970s and 1960s. So a youth of 1960 is not the same youth of 2024. And Mr. Jacob coming here and telling us that, you see, he has brought a lot of statistics. Actually, it was almost the same as the president's lecture. I don't call it an address. It is a lecture, because he does not recognize that there is a problem. For him, he wants to just show us that everything is okay. Well, of course, there were some positives that we received from his lecture, like the status on the East African community and the removal of tax of the
non-tax barriers.
Yes, non-tariff barriers.
Non-tariff barriers. Yes.
Of course, on some commodities that are essential to the person who is down, like grocery and all that. So that was a plus. But the issues of the youth should be the center of discussion. Why is the crime rate so high? It means the youth are somehow dormant. There is something that is wrong with their... Let me tell you, there is a problem. The problem that comes with the mind starts from the leadership. When the society is rotten from the top, you can't expect the bottom to be okay. Our leaders have not set a platform. They have not set standards. They have not set a roadmap for us to prosper as youth. For me, as Isaac Barije, I'm a lawyer. I can look after myself and my family. But there is a youth who is going to come and rob me at night because he's unemployed, or because the taxes are so high that even the small thing that he's making out of what they call kuiriba, EFRIS is also attacking him. So there is a problem with this nation. So concerning the youth, the president has said a lot of nothing. That's why even when you look at the cover page of the Daily Monitor, it speaks for itself. They only put a flag. That what we have as Uganda is the flag, black, yellow, and red, and we know how we interpret brotherhood.
Sunshine.
Sunshine. So we need to remember the true Uganda.
All right,
and let me call upon Mr. Yeru, that it's high time we become patriotic. Let's stop. In the sense of it, let's stop talking about statistics and all that. Let's talk about the standard of living, the cost of living. No, I mean, someone out there may not understand GDP, but he will understand cost of living.
Okay, let me bring in
practice.
Peter, aren't you being unfair to first the leadership of the young people like Jacob Yeru here and the president? Because the challenges that Uganda is facing are not customized to Uganda. We know certainly in the sub-Saharan region, all nations, if you walk from right from Ethiopia per se to Johannesburg in South Africa to Dakar, Senegal, and all these places, the challenges are the same. The young people have no jobs. There is a lot of insecurity. We know what's happening in Eastern Congo. We know there is literally very small hope for the young people across the sub-Saharan region. Why is it so huge for you to say that Uganda is to the dogs and the leadership has failed and there is nothing that is being done about anything? Yet these things are not an isolation for only Uganda.
You see, West J, it is a pain and a real and a serious pain to the marrow when you ask a question as if you live on the Mars and you're not living in Uganda. What is paining Ugandans is having leaders who are out of touch and out of rhythm with us. The Katerankonyas, the Kakula Masindes, the ordinary Ugandans. That's the only problem we have. I have no problem with the chairman being here. And he tells us, for example, how many radio stations he has visited countrywide to sensitize the youth that in his office he has been able to retrieve 38 billion that he's telling us here. It's the first time that we've heard about it. And I can tell you he is in his office and enjoying the life in his office, while the youth don't know that he has this whole budget. And at the end of the financial year, you will hear that this money has been sent back to the consolidated fund. As I talk this, the mayor of Mbarara City is sending back 15 billion to the consolidated fund this week, because the financial year is closing. Yet Katete Bridge is broken, the roads are poor, the lights are not working. That's what we are talking about. So before you tell me about Congo, before you tell me about Senegal, before you tell me about South Africa, let's first look at our own context. That's why for us in the NUP, we tell you that President Museveni is an outdated leader. He is a tired man. He is exhausted. He is a man who is totally out of touch. And in saying this, I want to quote the words of the Deputy Speaker, Mr. Thomas Tayebwa. He said the questions of 1986 may be the questions of today, but the answers are different. I want to say this, that the events of 1986 may be the events of today, because even we, as a matter of fact, we know that NRA inherited or took over a state that was failed. So the events of 86 may be the events of today, but the rhetoric must be different. You cannot come and say the NRA started out of a students' revolution, yet we know how even the student scheme has been mismanaged. The loan scheme, it has been brought off, put back, mishandled completely, and you're referring to students. You cannot say that, you see, we were relevant to the revolution at that time. The question will be, are you relevant to the revolution in Uganda today? That's why all of us are saying that our chairman here, our president, the ministers, the government agencies are out of touch. I can tell you, SJ, look at how many months it takes to construct a broken bridge in Uganda. They have crossed that Karuma. Start counting how many years it's going to take to reopen that bridge. Vis-a-vis the cost of trade, the cost of transport to those parts of northern Uganda. And we have a government where you hear money has been swindled. You hear, even the president talked about it, that there is now official corruption. Even people in my office liaise with Ministry of Finance, then they liaise with the Auditor General, then they liaise with Parliament, and then inside, as they draft the budget, they hide in money to steal. And the whole bridge is broken, which can be worked on in 2 months or 3 months. People no longer access that part of the country. But there is 20 trillion, there is 10 trillion to be stolen by the thieves. And when we ask him about corruption, he tells us, Kasta, when they steal, they build 5-star hotels around here. I think these 5-star hotels belong to the areas of this world. So for us, the Katera Masindes, before you tell us about Congo, before you tell us about South Africa, let us address Ugandan problems to the core of what they are. And that's why I want to congratulate Kahindo Tafire. For the first time, Kahindo Tafire came and asked police, why are you beating the Chaguranyis of this world? Why are you beating the opposition? Stop beating them. Because these people are trying to give us alternatives. They are trying to open, but this can be done better. Do you know that government enacted the transplantation bill, and now it's an act, in order to curtail medical tourism? People have been running with sacks of money, 200 millions, 300 millions, to go and have transplants in outside countries. We have been in a financial year, a lot of money in trillions has been going to take care of those medical specialties in outside countries. Do you know that the government is failing to provide only 5 billion, just 5 billion, to constitute a medical council and equip it so that they are able to guide and govern how transplantation operations can be held in this Uganda. People have invested, they have built these hospitals, brought in these equipments, brought in the expertise, and this can't be done. So for me, Wednesday, it is out of touch. And it is so paining, and this is not the only issue. He has talked about IFRIS. You go to every other ministry, people are grabbing land. You go to everywhere, it is a whole mess. So for us, I want to end by saying, can't we go the South African way? Because the South Africans have decided to cripple the ANC, because the ANC had held the whole power basket. Can't we cripple the NRM? And it is so sad when I see Eruero. I know Eyeru. Maybe it's because of the position you have, to see you putting on a shirt yellow in color, printed on yellow what movement. It is so sad. I wish you can put something more radical and say, yes, I belong to the yellow thing, but I want change. Okay. I want things that represent.
Let's talk for a break.
Day-to-day lives of Ugandans.
Yes.
I hope we know that even our next leader is of advanced age, legally.
Okay, let's stop for a break. When we come back into the second hour of the show, but don't forget you can be a part of the conversation when you call in on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. I'll be able to read some of the messages that you're sending on our social media. Council Bwenja has been quiet for a minute. I'll be able to give you that chance when we're back after the break. Good morning.
It's tough, it's bold, it's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
We are back. It's 2 minutes past the top of the hour on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music, great friends. My name is Wesige Banyaji. The Big City is on. It happens every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 11. What we do is we sit and talk about everything that has to do with the economy, politics, sociology, philosophy. And it's not no exception this Saturday. We're talking about the state of the national address with interest to issues youth. With me in studio is Mr. Jacob Eyeru, who is the chairperson, National Youth Council and coordinator, Yellow Youth Movement. Mr. Isaac Badije, who is a lawyer, Mr. Peter Mpaka, who is a member of the National Inter Platform. National Inter Platform should be able to give you a title so that it's easier for me to introduce you. How about they give you coordinator Western Uganda?
For a matter of fact, I'm not a prophet, but I feel something that is downloading for me.
I have Council Benje those did it, but we were in the break and we asked him whether the Nalu party collapsed because he no longer talks about it. But I want to thank you so much for being a part of the show. You can be a part of the show by the telephone calls. I'll be able to open the lifeline of the show on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. But on our social media handles, X912 Cruise FM, and let me read some of the comments that you've sent us on the state of the national address. King Lido Survey is saying, I was shocked about his statement about corruption. He said, if you were to punish every corrupt person, who shall we work with? In my opinion, corruption is corruption, and the president should deal with it mercilessly. Moses Engujio in Uganda, and you're saying to me the president is talking too much of history. The ambition of Ugandans cannot be fulfilled with speaking history. On Twitter, Odisha Marcel, you're saying the president is not concerned about the problems of a common person. He simply doesn't care. I guess this will happen in the budget reading. Then Mwesije Brian, and you're saying I expected him to talk about the increased robbery and the flying kicks in Kampala, but he didn't. Let me go to the biggest contributor of the big set. That's Matthias Major on Facebook, who is saying the words from the fountain of honor always carry advice and meaning, but unfortunately they are turning to become a song and releases Uganda's weaknesses of corruption and brought to our attention that they may fail to get people to work. If he is to fight corruption, well, it's been very unclear, Matthias. I hope you can be able to get it correct. Otherwise, his speech was the usual one, and words are always constant. You're listening again from Kashaka. To Yamre Ambrose, you're saying youth issues were not addressed in the president's speech. This government keeps telling the youth we are the future leaders. When will the future come? The government of Uganda should consider the youths since they're the majority. At Kwasa Ivan, I see you. You're listening all the way from Karera Technical Institute. Nwajira David, you're saying Ugandans are tired of the long speeches. We want action. Musingu's Onesimus, you're saying how can someone genuinely put it? The corruption has minimized Uganda. There is nothing to decrease. Well, I see you. Owakabe Jonana, I see you. And so many of you. Let me end with Pide Robert, who is saying thanks for hosting the Chairperson Youth Council. And they're saying we've been hearing a lot about the youth loan in Equity Bank without security. This week, I tried to seek one to add to my poultry farm. That's where the government wants to put us after graduating, but reaching the bank, the man told me in order to be considered for the amount, I must raise capital equivalent to the money I wanted. That's ridiculous. Send the messages about youth affairs to the studio line and the social media handles. I'll be able to direct them to the chairperson Youth Council to be able to answer some of the questions that you're raising. Council Bwenje, the president, said the real threats to African progress has been internal weaknesses such as mining in the private sector, the wrong concept of the army building, sectarianism, and corruption. He said, I have been hearing that there is a bracket of corruption between Minister of Finance and Parliament. I now have proof. So in Luganda, he says, I'm sorry for them. The president is literally sending a stern warning to every corrupt official of government that this time they're going to be nipped in the bud. Do you believe that the president this time round is going to deal with corruption?
Well, of course, that is a joke of the year. It's not. You see, I watched the State of the Nation address, but in my opinion, it seems more of the State of the NRM address. That's nothing to do with the State of the Nation. Because the factors or the issues affecting the people of Uganda and Uganda itself were not covered at all. And of course, I don't expect the President of the Republic of Uganda to do anything different, because especially about the youth. If he has people like the chairperson Eyeru here who are to advise him on the affairs of the youth, I don't expect anything new from the President of the Republic of Uganda, because these same persons, especially Jacob Eyeru here, are people who are drunk with the person of the President Museveni. They worship him as if he's the Alpha and the Omega. They cannot really advise him in any objective manner. And the reason I'm saying this is, if you read the information on the account of Mr. Eyeru, X account, I think it was on the 5th of June. This is what he says. This is what he says about members of the FDC who had some issues against him. This is on his X account, right? There's nothing good we can expect of him in terms of advising or even challenging any decision of President Museveni. Because, of course, as we know, that human rights and freedoms, they are guaranteed not by any person like Museveni, but by the Constitution. We are a council, a National Youth Council. To have such kind of reasoning really is, to say the least, embarrassing. We expected more of him. And so when you think that the freedom of expression and speech and I mean, of course, and the speech and so forth is guaranteed by person, then that is absurd. He ought to know better that even him, he, as a Ugandan, he has the constitutional right to speak freely, and whether the president wants it or not. So these types of people whom we depend on to improve the livelihoods of the youth, to advise the president on the affairs of the youth, are actually more interested in his handouts. And they are just there to appease him, to extol him, but actually they are not doing anything really in the best interests of the youth. There are many youth who are in jail, of course. I mean, for NUP and so forth. Of course, but you see, I've not had any opinion of the National Youth Council about the same. The attacks by the youth in Kampala, the National Youth Council is quiet about it. The level of corruption in Parliament, the Youth Council is quiet about it. The youth MPs are just dormant. So I mean, we actually, you see, now I'm actually beginning to ask myself, are the youth vulnerable anymore? Should we even have youth MPs? Because they serve absolutely no purpose. So I think that even the youth have really become, if they have not become a nuisance, then I don't know what they have become. Because if their leaders cannot point the president to where they want him to go, in as far as the affairs of the youth are concerned, then what are they being paid for. Of course, I know they get hefty salaries and allowances. But if you can have a chairperson of the youth council, really,
Thank you.
I think
Thank
it
you.
is so. Actually,
Thank you, Council.
and I
This
don't
man
want
wants
him
to cry.
No. And I don't want him to take it at a personal level. But
No,
we expect more of him. He should actually be telling the president that these freedoms are not guaranteed by the NRA or the Hima dynasty, but by the constitution.
Okay.
And just
no,
20 seconds or 10 seconds.
You don't need seconds. State your position.
Yes, I also want the chairman of the youth, he's here, to address teen pregnancy, which is on the rise, especially in the Chigezi region and in the eastern and Karamoja region. I also want him to discuss early marriage. We have seen videos on social media where the young girls are being carried by force to go and get married because because of the socio-economic status of Ugandans. They see no hope and they are giving out their daughters.
Okay. To the lifeline of the show, the telephone calls on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. Call in. Let's get to hear from you on what you think about the State of the Nation address made by His Excellency the President. If you're youth out there and there's something that has been perturbing you for a very long time, you don't know where to go. I don't know how functional the youth councils are at village level and county level, and you've not been able to address some of those matters at whichever level that you are at. Here is the opportunity. Jacob Yeru, the chairperson of the National Youth Council, is with us in studio. He can be able to answer some of these very pertinent issues that young people have on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. I am allowing you to call. Don't go into side shows. Stick to our topic of discussion, all right? And keep it brief, precise, and to the point. The big set.
Council brother,
Good morning, Mwedeza on the matter.
how are you doing?
I'm doing perfectly well. How are you doing? The State of the Nation address.
First of all, I want to thank the panels that you have brought in the studios because they all have good words. Secondly, my issue is I expected the President of Uganda to speak about lack of job opportunities among the youth. Thirdly, I hoped him to talk about the skyrocketing of prices like soap, sugar, salt, and the falling down of prices like this thing that we grow like maize and banana, like coffee, which are hindering the income of people who are living in this nation, especially we youth who are trying to do like those things that we can develop ourselves. And lastly, I hoped him to talk about corruption that is in Uganda. These people are stealing these Karamoja's iron sheets. You see that saga went longer on social media, also went viral on social medias, on radios and televisions, but he didn't talk about it. But this president of ours, we are really tired of him. Thank you so much.
All right. On the big seat, 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. Call in and let's get to hear from you. The big seat. Just lost that call. Cruise FM, good morning.
Good morning, Council.
Yes, how are you doing?
My name is Sandro from Zero.
Yes, please. Turn down the volume of your radio or else I bounce you.
Okay. My point is that
Mm.
the president, what I expected him to address was totally different from what he said.
What did you want?
On this point of corruption, he himself committed a mistake, and which he did, it wasn't the point. And another thing, that's the youth who actually we have lost hope.
The youths have lost hope. The big seat just keep losing that line on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. The big seat.
Go on, Eji.
Yes, good morning. What's your name and where you at?
Roni from Spochemagraka Sharuizuwea.
Speak a bit faster, bro.
I was taking the president's address on corruption. Corruption is falling our Uganda. Corruption.
Okay. The big set on 752. Let me pick two more last calls for the show, honestly. Then I come back to the panel and we get the questions answered on 752 912 912 and 780 912 910. The big set.
Yes, hello, Close FM.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you, brother.
Yes, how are you doing? What's your name?
This is Simon Peter from Rinyachigramashema.
Yes, Simon, to the matter.
Yes, to the matter. I was somehow impressed that in President's speech he spoke about the corruption. But my concern was he never left us with what he will deal with, because he already knows who the corrupt are. Already his men, his ladies that are nearby him are the ones that are corrupt.
Oh, okay.
So I expected by that time that he would have maybe then he makes them depart out of their position.
Okay, thank you. Let me pick the very last call on 752 912 912 and 780 912 910. The big seat. Just lost that. Let me come to Jacob. Yes.
I think one of the misses in the president's address or lecture was corruption. He failed to address, even when you look at the implication of corruption.
But what did you expect him to say more than just how ready he is to deal with
Mr. Banyaji, I think you're not even understand the gravity of this problem, to the extent that our leaders are being sanctioned. You see, when Right Honorable Among and other honorable ministers were sanctioned, that is a very big loss to the nation. It means in their capacities, they cannot transact outside Uganda. They cannot move out as delegates. Sometimes, I don't know whether you're understanding how big an issue it is. So if the president is just talking about, he has always been talking about corruption since 1986. What we want to see is the action part of it. Is he putting in effort to prosecute these people? You see, there is the principle of separation of powers and the checks and balances and all that. Now, if the DPP cannot prosecute the Right Honorable Among because maybe of influence and all that, what do you think corruption in Uganda will what do you think of corruption in Uganda? Of course, it has to what? To blossom. Now, the problem we have in Uganda is that the people who are corrupt, they are the ones who contributed a lot in this nation. So I think the president sees which one is the bigger evil, the lesser evil. So that's the challenge, that's the problem. But we need to sacrifice some people.
All right.
We need to sacrifice the Amongs, we need to sacrifice the Magogo. I don't know about Magogo. We need to sacrifice the Nandutus and all that. So that we set an example. We need to set a precedent, at least in East Africa. You know, in East Africa, by the way, it's maybe Tanzania that fights corruption. It's even very hard to be corrupt in Tanzania. But in Uganda and Kenya, we need to pick some a leaf from countries like Burkina Faso, Guinea-Bissau. Those countries that are really hands-on on corruption.
Oh, okay, thank you. Mr. Eyeru. You had it all, so please answer some of the issues that were raised.
Yes, I think I want to start by appreciating my brothers herein. My only challenge with them is they seem to be allergic to information. I really don't know where they are getting, because it's easy to fly around evils in the country. But if you don't appreciate the macro nature of the country, you might not give the right dosage to the country. One, Uganda is a country that has come from far. You have to appreciate the dynamics around Uganda before you dictate what should happen in Uganda. And I've been listening to some things. Let me start with my brother Bwenje. Rights. human rights are inalienable. In other words, those ones you're born with them because you're human. But civil and political rights are guaranteed by the state. A state can provide that in this location you can hold protests or not. You can abuse a president or not. Anything that has to do with political and civil expression and organization depends on the leadership and the position of the state. That's why in some countries it is okay for you to abuse the president. And that's the point I was making. Here we can abuse President Museveni here and now and go home and return tomorrow to abuse him, perhaps even get more invitations. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, in Kinshasa, you cannot abuse a deputy minister and reach home. That is the extent to which we are different. But where is the borderline? There is no country between the two of us. I do not need to say what happens in the Republic of Rwanda if you want to say something about the president. There was a country down south where we arrived, and being Ugandans, we were talking a lot about many things. I said, please, whatever I said, don't include the name of the president. And it was alien to us. But this is the reality that you young Ugandans do not appreciate. Perhaps I could excuse because, okay, many have not gone to different domains, so you speak from your bubble, and that's okay. That's not also to say that we are perfect. No. I'm just saying you need to recognize the difference between what is guaranteed by your state that President Museveni historically changed and what you would prefer or much prefer. The second thing is whether or not we have actually spoken out against. And I think this is a mistake. And I invite my brothers to go and rewatch some of these things. Since I took office as chairperson of the National Youth Council, there has never been an International Youth Day where there has been unworthy praise singing. We speak publicly to the president about the evils that we think are wrong that need to change. One, the students' loan scheme in Uganda, in my opinion, is still a joke. Why? Because if you're providing for 1,100 young people to join university, but you actually have over 200,000 coming in and government sponsorship covers only 4,000, then you are still in a joke. If you compare it to what Tanzania, what Kenya does, in fact, higher education across the globe is achieved through a loan availability for nationals to make sure that there is a big development of people that are land and can carry out research for development. So we have already said that out. The National Youth Council in 2022 petitioned Parliament and said, look, why are you taxing a young person and getting them to start a business at the same cost as Sudil Ruparela? We said, why don't we have a tax holiday for young people's businesses for the first 2 years? But my brothers here conveniently don't say such things because their intention is to show that there is nobody who thinks well in the NRM. We propose to government that if you are having enough money to give peasants to the tune of 1 trillion in PDM and to give borders, journalists, hairdressers in M Yoga, the tune of 200 billion. Why can't you have a startup scheme called the Graduate Startup Scheme that provides people who have left Bishop Stewart, left Mbarara University, left Mountains of the Moon University with a degree, a skill, but no capital, and you help them?
Why not Makerere?
I mean,
no, he is
include Makerere
because of the West. Don't trivialize.
No.
You see, Bwenje, they have been calling you professor, but I am about to change the title.
No. Historical.
I am just saying.
But you see,
Makerere, Chambo, whichever it is, as long as they are young Ugandans and graduates, there needs to be a helping hand to the people that we have injected knowledge into to go into business. But there has been this question of, okay, why are we not having enough jobs? And I wanted to ask, and this came from my brother from Noop, where exactly is the study of entrepreneurship leading to the creation of the entrepreneur? I think if you go on a global statistical scale, you will find that most entrepreneurs are people that have simply appreciated business as a personal skill. And the people who study entrepreneurship provide us the statistics of how many people are doing well in business. But if you find the professors in Makerere who are in economics and entrepreneurship, many of them don't have a running valid business. I hope that that now exonerates me from Professor Bwenje. So
but you see that I agree, but I would want us to zero down to what our ordinary people go through.
And I'm coming to that next.
From Equity Bank, somebody going to borrow from Equity Bank.
Yes.
And they are asked first to raise their capital to an
equivalent of what they are going to borrow.
In your first submission, you talked about PDM. In my village, for youth to get PDM money, they are asked to pay 200,000 shillings, 100,000 shillings. Yet they are just looking for about little money of PDM.
So you see, and this is the information I need, and I'm glad that it is coming out. I hope you'll furnish me with the village, and the district and the parish. If in fact live on air would be better. No. I don't want. No.
And he does what?
I don't want the pretense to start.
He will act.
And he does what?
And he acts.
No.
Him.
Yes.
So you see, let me again, some of these things, and this is why I'm saying you need to appreciate how leadership executes mandate and delivers. The parish development model in its original form did not have a parish development committee. No. It was because of our advocacy that it was instituted. No, not politics. The chairperson of the youth council of the parish, elected by the youth of the parish, sits on the parish development committee. And they are charged with knowing who the beneficiaries are and identifying them. If there is a problem where young people are receiving 200,000, the National Youth Council has a structure from the village to the national. I can trace the individual in 1 hour. And I want to challenge my brother to mention that village and that parish. And before this show ends, I should have information on what he's saying, whether it's true or not. Mpaka, no, Mpaka. You are being escapist. No. Okay, tell us all the villages. Okay, sample 5. I am ready.
Let him tell us his village.
Can you imagine? Tell us your village. So this is for me sensationalism. But that's not to say there are evils that I am escaping. No. I also want to be very clear. There are things that the president said that we are going to make a statement about and say we don't agree with. I'll give you one example. Corruption is reaching a level in Uganda that is going to inhibit any form of development, but even worse, any form of trust in government. If the local citizen feels that this PDM, they are going to steal from it, they will not even go there to find out what I can benefit from them, because of perception built with the communication. And that's why we're saying no, the head of state needs to be very careful about how he communicates about certain things, because young people in the country nobody is happy to hear that, when we steal 500 million, it is a basic mistake we have made, and they have been, because there are young people who went out of their way to say, let's do an exhibition and find information and file it to the public, at the risk of being abusers of the oath of secrecy that they swore.
The same young people are not appending their signatures that are representing the general youth population on the censure motion to have the commissioners of parliament.
Yes. I think that is a matter of procedure. I think that's a matter of. I am not a member of parliament, so I cannot sign. But I need to be very clear.
Not you, but they are young people.
Exactly. I need to be very clear. I have not, my brother.
Him are actually all elected under the same act.
Very true, but yes. I have not been furnished with the list. I don't know if you have the names which have signed. If you have them, you can let me know. I check, because I don't have them. No, do you have them?
As the council does.
Mr. Banyaji,
yes.
Let me first, at least for a moment, protect my brother Jacob. That the nature of the electorate that we have in Uganda, he can't even testify. The youth in Uganda have a problem themselves. They are hard to manage. They are hard to lead. That's the challenge Mr. Yeru is facing. Even telling my brother Mpaka, name your village and we start investigating from there. Mpaka is a youth. He has failed.
He wants to belong to all villages of Uganda.
You see, the Ugandan government has got the CID.
No, Mpaka, tell us the village. Be a whistleblower.
I am not.
Do not now become.
Why are you circumventing a very basic question?
Let me tell you.
No. Why are you obstructing the fight against corruption,
Yes.
Mr.
I
Mpaka?
can assure you. I can assure you that all these Mr. Jacob and
Isaac.
don't put me in a position where I will cause problems to somebody's family. What I want you to do.
So what I want
you
are not ready
You're
to
protecting
lead.
I've told you.
You are not ready to lead
I've
people.
told you that in villages in Uganda, we can, even callers will call. PDM,
Get off
you
the
have to pay.
microphone.
No, I have something to submit. I have something to submit that is even more serious than where you put
You're a
it.
coward.
What is more serious than fighting
What I'm saying
corruption?
is
When
this.
we come live on
Isaac,
air,
Let's have order.
when we come live on
the
air,
listeners
when
know.
we come live
The
on
listeners
air,
know.
Yes.
The listeners know.
when we
The
come
listeners
live
will
on
even
air,
call you and
we
tell
owe
you.
a duty of care.
No,
Yes.
no, the listeners, I'm not
Okay.
careless. The
Yeah.
listeners will
Isaac,
tell you.
let's allow
But the
him.
most important thing I wanted to tell him culminates from what Gwenja said, that when the issue of service awards came up, Uganda Law Society, and I'm saying this because the chairman is saying he's not a parliamentarian, he cannot sign and something like that. But Uganda Law Society, the president of the Uganda Law Society, together with his society of lawyers and his committee, they came out and gave a position, a constitutional position on the service award. They said this is illegal, this is criminal, this cannot be allowed to continue, because everyone was finding a way of defending it. The same thing we are telling him, your youth MPs, why are they not signing on this censor motion? And he's saying I have no control over them.
No, he has said he has not
what?
perused
He has
the
not done what?
list to ascertain whether they've signed or not.
Mpaka can tell us if he has the list so that we check whether they have not signed.
I don't have the
but
list,
Mr.
but-
Yeru,
but for
we also
me-
know. Wait. We also know, Mr. Yeru, these 5 gentlemen and ladies have not signed. That we may not have to go and go to the Hansard and the list and everything that has to do with. They have not signed.
Well, I hope you're right because I don't know.
As him, as the chairperson of the council, is it in the best interest of the people of Uganda that these MPs should sign the motion?
Yes. Is it in
Mr. Banyaji,
Let me- I think that's easy.
Let me just
Yes.
give an
How can you advise them?
I want to advise.
Or should they not sign?
I want to advise young people and especially these ones with me in the studio. We are young. We have more time ahead. Essential motion on people who have given what we are calling a service award to themselves. We need to be very careful about whether we are not participating in crucifixion politics or we are participating, because you might think you are fighting corruption. No. Yes.
Okay, let's have.
And what I am saying is what I'm saying is whether they sign or not is immaterial to the fact of whether there's corruption or not. And I think that we should be more interested.
No, Mr. Yeru, it's actually material.
Yes.
It's actually material
No,
because
no.
if they sign, it would mean their position on fighting corruption is definite.
No, you see, first of all, I don't know if all of you know that the matter is already in courts. So, it's very good. This time, Mr. Mpaka has the right name. Marema Abirizi, my brother Bridges, inspirational lawyer, is in court on the same matter. So there would be sub judice to try and bring it up to the floor. So, and you know, the youth MPs we have now are a bit educated. So it might be the restraining idea if they have not yet signed, but I've not yet confirmed. What I am saying is, and I want us to understand something, fighting corruption should not be a political show. It should be a way of governance. And you see, the more we weaponize the fight against corruption, for example, right now guns are pointing at 4 people who in total have stolen, okay, let's assume they are actually guilty. They took to themselves 1.7 billion. The amount of money we lost in this financial year to corruption is over $1 billion. No, what I'm telling you, Wenje, what I'm telling you is, if you are saying let us sign a censure on the IGG for not dealing with the expose from the Auditor General's report. I would say this is the right direction. But for us to be in political grandstanding, political gerrymandering in Parliament, because 4 people have taken 1.7, therefore it is a crucifixion. Fine, I am going to insist the youth MPs should sign and let the matter fade on the floor of Parliament. But I want to tell you, that approach does not solve corruption. The approach that solves corruption is for young people to say, if nothing is done about the situation in the full Auditor General report, how much is lost, how much has government recovered, then the whole apparatus of fighting corruption should be fired. That's a better approach.
Okay, now my question to Mr. Jacob Eyeru is, we've heard clearly your position and we can read between the lines. You're saying, since there is grand corruption in all other sectors, then what's the matter? This shouldn't be a surprise, or we shouldn't make a big deal of the 4 individuals that awarded themselves 1.7 billion shillings. Wait. It is to mean that Ugandans, if they are going to deal with corruption, it should be across the board, but not an isolation of 4 individuals.
Yes, because it does not solve the problem.
Should we now cross our hands, not act about it, yet we have information?
I've given the solution. And the solution is in analyzing the whole problem and taking a very stern position. Young people can say, now, we want the IGG to resign. And we hold a protest about that because she has failed to fight corruption. That's a better approach than identifying 4 individuals in one scheme, and we think that by pulling those 4 down, we will solve corruption. We will not. We could make a statement. We jailed Jamwa, the former accountant of NSSF, and before he could even serve half his term, there was another scandal at NSSF. Before that could be brought to the end point, my brother Mr. Byarugaba was also accused of corruption. Why? Because the system does not fight corruption in operation.
Okay.
The system
Mr. Jacob
only provides for grandstanding. We get one person, we hang them on a tree like a poster, when actually people are outside dancing. But
as we go for the break,
music is not allowed.
Now, my question to you is now, does that exonerate the opposition that says this is something entrenched, our problem is bigger than the NRM can deal with it, so let's overhaul the system, create a new establishment that is capable of dealing with the menace and the cancer that
and I can tell you that my only hope, my only and I was going to say that, okay, maybe let me first respond to that. Corruption is an operational issue. It's not an ideological issue. If your party is built around fighting corruption, there is nothing you will solve in the country. Because quality of education, creation of jobs are not things that you solve by fighting corruption. You must have a strategy that actually leads to increasing income and so on. And that's why I'm in the
Let's offer a break when we come back.
Just to say the last word on that. I'm going to say this very calmly so we understand it well. In Uganda and all over the world, fighting corruption cannot be a political grandstanding gimmick. It must be a way of life embedded in the governance of the country.
Okay, after the break, we shall have Isaac and get back to some of your feedback. Don't touch your radio. Good morning.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
it's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
On our final lap of the show, it's 14 minutes to the top of the hour on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music, great friends. My name is Wesige Banyaji. The Big Seat is on your radio every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 11, where you can be a part of the conversation across the country on the big headlines of the week. With me in studio is Mr. Jacob Eyeru, who is the chairperson, National Youth Council and coordinator, Yellow Youth Movement. Mr. Isaac Barije, who is a lawyer, Mr. Peter Mpaka, National Unity Platform, and Mr. Bwenje Dausdedit, who is also a lawyer. Thank you so much for those that have been a part of the conversation. You've been great company. The messages that you've sent on our social media handles, we appreciate you so much. And for those that have taken time to call in to the contribute to the conversation this morning, I want to appreciate you in a very special way. Our topic of discussion this morning is twofold. And the state of the national address made by His Excellency the President, but also the status of youths and youth affairs in our country, knowing that we are the biggest chunk of the population, and how much is government intended to better our affairs. That's a conversation that we shall keep on and on and on, and having the privilege of hosting the chairperson of the council, it does us good. Let the conversation continue and keep on, because we have so much that we have to do. I want to thank you, David Bogere, for being a part of the conversation. I have the chairperson youths in Kamkuzi, who is saying, as the youth chairperson for Kamkuzi, I wanted to know if every youth leader is supposed to get access of accountability of youth funds. So there's a lot of issues to do with accountability that the young people are calling on. And there's so many. Bruce Wakunda, you're listening to the show, and I want to appreciate you so much. And there's so many big setters that are catching the show. We appreciate you in a very special way. Isaac Badije.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Banyaji. Let me begin by quoting the president. He said, I have been getting good information about corruption among public actors and some political actors. With firm evidence, we shall crush these actors. He further said that I have been hearing that there is a racket of corruption between Ministry of Finance and Parliament. I now have proof. I am very sorry for them. That's what the president said. And if history serves me right, the president has always been threatening to crush these corrupt officials. But now, he has twisted it a little bit by confirming that he has evidence. Once the president says that, it means that there is no doubt there is a problem of corruption. But the question is there now the political will by the head of state to crush this corruption? If we see the president praising the speaker in the same speech, who is being accused of corruption, what do we think of the state of the nation? May I believe that corruption is part and parcel of the Ugandan society, and as I had earlier submitted that the next leader, I'm not a prophet and neither am I related to one, but I see General Muhoozi being the next president of this nation. Now, General Muhoozi. General Muhoozi, yes. We all know that he is of advanced age. So 50
years is not advanced.
Legally he's above 50. He's of advanced age. He's actually an old man. When he applies for bail, those are one of the conditions that court will consider to grant him that bail.
Yes. So, include your parting shot in there.
So, my submission is, as the youth, we are on our own with our God, and we are just hoping for the best. But as we were debating about corruption and all that, let's not make it a political stance only. Let's put the active part of it. If it's to demonstrate, let us demonstrate. Let's take to the streets. But in the intervening period, we need to sacrifice these 4 commissioners.
Thank you, Buddy J.
Yes.
Let me have your parting shot.
Thank you, SJ. Actually, I concur with Council Valije that corruption, the talk of corruption in President Museveni's mouth is actually about transition. He's actually starting to think of transition. Because you remember on the 48th birthday, he said for him he has been calm and patient and cool with corruption. But his son is going to be very impatient with the corrupt. So I think they are just playing family politics. We should just maybe think of a parasecop, but NUP will not allow that. Now, I want to end with this. This is a quote from President Museveni, that I am not a servant of anyone. I work for myself and my family. Your parents should work for you, just like I worked for my children who have never looked for jobs and are busy taking care of their wealth. Bana Uganda, jagala bagamba, muri kurwamwe, everyone is for themselves. They are going to continue to tax us. Corruption actually is going to increase. Bino byagamba nti bano bafudde. Actually, they are going to shrive them more. Corruption is going to increase because it is just a transitional politics.
Thank you.
I ask you, muberezemu nga muyiriba, gezaako, put food on your table, pay school fees for your kids.
Okay.
God is on your side.
But Bwenjados did it.
I just want to encourage the MPs who have not signed the censure motion to do so, because it is in the best interest of our people. And of course, it gives a chance to the accused persons to go on the floor of parliament and defend themselves. And so I also want to emphasize that the President of the Republic of Uganda has no intention at all, either covert or overt, to fight corruption and bribery.
Okay,
so we should not have any faith in him, and the only solution is to remove him and his NRM government from power.
By which means?
By force of arms.
Thank you. Jacob Beyeru.
I want to start from where my brothers left it. I invite them to try. I think we need to know that the future of the world is not going to be in the force of arms. It's going to be in the force of knowledge, the force of innovation, the force of young people and their urgency. And I think that for me, what I like about this show is, first of all, that it has young people, but more importantly, that we are talking about the future of the country. And I think we all have to rally the president. Yes, there is a lot in his past. He was an enviable young person in his actions, but we need to speak to him more about what the future should hold for young people. The president draws inspiration from his past to predict the future or determine it. I think we should be the generation that looks at the future which the entire world is showing us and say, therefore, how does Uganda get there? And we work towards that. There are things that we are going to have to do as a generation. President Museveni, I never fear to say this, President Museveni is most likely not going to be alive in the next 30 years. But everyone who is at university below 30, below 35 will most likely be alive, and the country will be here. Uganda will go nowhere. So we need to start to agree on the things that must change, even if the individual does not change. And those things are the ones we shall put together. As the Yellow Youth Movement for 2026, we are saying it's still time to complete some things. Ideologically, mass education still needs financing. The only person talking about that is President Museveni. Grassroots empowerment still needs major financing. President Museveni is still benchmarking that. And finally, the health sector needs a better referral system. And we think our negotiation can happen with President Museveni until we think it is better otherwise. So that's why we are here in Mbarara. That's why, in my capacity as coordinator of the Yellow Youth Movement, I hope that everyone is able to join us to support President Museveni for 2026. I thank you.
You've been very good company. I want to thank you, Bwenje Dos did it. Though the elements of change of government by use of arms, like you've already said, to end whatever you call a particular dynasty.
It's constitutional. The third article of the Constitution gives us power to defend our Constitution by whatever means possible.
All right. I want to thank you, Bwenje, for being a part of the show. Thank you, Peter Mpaka. Thank you, Isaac Badije, for taking time to already join the big set. Thank you, Creative Media, for broadcasting us on Cruise TV. And thank you, Chairman, Mr. Jacob Eyeru, for taking time to be a part of the show. My name is Wesige Banyaji. Let's meet next Saturday on the big set. My punchline this week is the roads that are in dire situation. Please, government. So much money is being stolen whichever way. We now know you're stacking it in the West. Please meet the basics and provide public goods so that all Ugandans can be proud of this country. We're out of here. We have news at the top of the hour. Stick to Cruise FM because we have the best radio. Don't forget that Kafurua Wino is about to make it back. Be a part of that in a very great way. God bless you and have a fantastic weekend. Good morning.
Expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of this radio station or its management.
This radio is regulated by Uganda Communications Commission, UCC.